Om swastiastu. This is the common form of greeting in Bali, and of course has its roots in Sanatana Dharma. And as always, we will break it up etymologically so that we have a deeper understanding of what it means. Aum, of course, is made out of its three syllables according to the Mandukya Upanishad and the yogis and rishis' own realizations, where akara refers to the jagruta state or the waking state, ukara refers to the dream state or the swapna state, and refers to the sushupti state. These three by themselves do not result in the completeness of who we are. When we realize who we really are, we see that there is a so-called transcendental Tritiya state or Turiya state, which is the Chaturthi after the Tritiya that you have with the other three gunas of Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva, corresponding to Jagruta, Swapna, and Sushupti. Now, the Turiya state is what helps us look at the holistic comprehensiveness of this whole thing from a deeper sense of perception, a greater clarity of who we are in this ladder of spiritual processes. And though Trimurti worship is very common in Bali, what is really actually done is the highest level of significance or importance is given to Achintya. And Achintya is nothing but Achintya. Chintya or Chinta in many Indian languages, as you know, is worry or think or imagine or comprehend. But we know that what is comprehensible and what is not comprehensible or incomprehensible, what is thinkable and what is unthinkable, what is imaginable and what is not imaginable, which is unimaginable. And that is Achintya. That is the Turiya state. That is the true state of who we are as the Paramatma, not just the so-called Jivatma. The oneness of the Jivatma and the Paramatma is the Advaita Siddhanta. And that is what is very deeply ingrained, knowingly or unknowingly, in the Balinese culture and continued to be followed till date. And that's what I like to showcase in the next 3 weeks to you. The 21 days of beautiful journey through the Balinese culture, their temples, waterfalls, the bountiful gifts of nature, an impossibility turning into a possibility, because you see that this whole thing, this Indonesian archipelago of more than 17,000 islands, is an impossible thing from a scientific or natural perspective even. But it has happened and it is flourishing. And that is more than enough proof that there is something which is mystical, which is going on over here, and which is what I'd like to present to all of you through this series of episodes that we are going to have. I'm, as you know from the previous two videos, one was a shorts, the other was a regular video, we had explored the journey from outside Bali to inside Bali, in particular from Simmapuri, which is today called as Singapore, to Bali, which has again very beautiful roots. The second was about the interiors of Puri Saraswati, the Jiva Ubud. The Jiva is a company, but there's a deeper meaning to it, as I explained in the previous video, of the life. And that in Ubud, which again has its roots in the Sanskrit aushad, or medicine, or something which is healing in nature. And that's precisely what I would like to present over here. So the Achintya, the unthinkable, unimaginable, and incomprehensible is what we are going to be exploring in this. Words aren't sufficient. They say 1,000 words equivalent to a picture, and maybe 1,000 pictures equivalent to a video. But with higher frame rates now, the numbers go up, just as the number of the cash and currency in IDR, or the Indonesian rupiah, that we count, because of its lower value compared to most other currencies that we are familiar with by a huge margin. So lakpatis, when you come here, overnight become crorepatис, and so on and so forth. Millionaires become billionaires or trillionaires over here. So what we are going to explore is the welcoming symbol of Om Swastiastu. And in Om Swastiastu, you're essentially talking about that Achintya principle embodied in the mantra, the seed mantra, Bija mantra of Aum, the very first Bija mantra from which every other Bija mantra emanates. And now you're like trying to look at Swa Asti Ast. What is that meaning? Swa Sti actually means Swa is self, and Sti is Sthiti, or establishment. What we talk of the Swadhisthana chakra, Swa Adhisthana. Similarly, Swa Ami or Swami, and now Swasti. That sthiti or status of self that you get established in, rather than this physical body, or B, the emotional mind, or the heart, as many people call it, which is the M, and I, the intellect, the sharp, intelligent intellect. So now the BMI are tools given to us. Rather than identifying with them, trying to recognize and realize that we are way beyond our tools, we are the grammatically incorrect ourself, but spiritually correct ourself. Neither yourself, myself, or ourselves in plurality, but in singularity, I say ourself. So it's a new word that I coined especially to explain some of the things which are not very easy to explain in words. And Aum Swasti is essentially to get re-established in that status of ourself, and which is the journey which can be done in many, many different ways. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti means one truth is reachable by uncountable number of paths, as many as there are people. So it's tailored to the individuality based on our initial conditions, obtained, of course, by our karmic heritage from this life and the previous lives, the part of which is open to us right now. From the Sanchita karma to the Agami karma, and trying to empty it out rather than distinguish it as good karma, bad karma, etc., and compensating, etc. No. All karma is like that which makes us continue to be embodied. If we want to be truly a Jivan Mukta, liberated soul, then we have to get rid of karma, not so called bad karma, but karma, period. And that's essentially done through yoga, tantra, and various other so called rituals. And people distinguish between religion and spirituality as if religion is something which is taboo, and spirituality is as if it is a science. But if you look at spiritual, the word itself has within it ritual, spirit and the ritual. joining together to form the spiritual. It's the ritual of the spirit, which is what I earlier called as ourself, the Atma, Paramatma, Jivatma. And that's what we are trying to achieve in this series of orange episodes, as you see. Orange, of course, is an euphemism for saffron or bhagwa or kavi, the true color of Sanatana Dharma, which is all about renunciation. Renunciation of what? Of our false identities, of course. That I am the physical body, I'm emotional mind, or the sharp intellect. No, these are all tools with which we work, and they are temporary. They have a beginning and an end. But I, the real I, is ourself, beginningless, endless. In that sense, it might seem like eternal, infinite, but that infinity is same as zero. The everythingness of Vishnu and the nothingness of Shiva combined together at the Vishuddhi as the oneness of Brahma. Because in the limit, 1 by 0 tends to infinity, and 1 by infinity tends to 0. Or in other words, the product of 0 and infinity, which is the Harihara Putra, the Manipura Chakra, Manikanta, Dharmashastra Ayyappa, is finite or 1. And that's the rajas we want to get rid of. And how do you get rid of rajas, which is all about passion, aggression, ambition, etc.? The redness of it through Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Of course, we know various Shanti mantras at the beginning and ending of each and every Upanishad, which is what constitutes the Vedanta, not in terms of the end of the Vedas, but in terms of the culmination or the main takeaway from the Vedanta, or all the Vedas put together, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. And when all of these combine, you have 108 Upanishads which are recognized universally, of which 12 are the principal Upanishads. And those principal Upanishads, amongst them, the Mandukya, which is the smallest, shortest, quickest to finish, is the deepest and much more meaning than all of the other Upanishads put together. So if you have a realization of the Mandukya, the Akara, Ukara, Makara, the Jagruta, Swapna, and Sushupti, to go beyond that to the Turiya state, or the silence between two chants of Om, that's where I would like to take you through this beautiful so-called orange journey. Quite a few people amongst you have been wondering whether I'm on college work. Well, it rhymes with college, but it is orange, an euphemism for saffron. People are scared of so-called saffronization, etc., thinking that it's a religion. No, religion is the practical implementation of the theory of spirituality, but in spirituality itself, the word ritual is contained rather than in religion. So there's absolutely nothing to be worried or concerned about. Experience it for yourself and see the beauty of things emanating all the way through the conformal mapping that we do, or nyasa, which is also a part of samnyasa or sannyasa, which is also the color orange, the earth color, the color of mud in most places. The most fertile soil is red soil, which is orangish in hue, or kesari as we call it, which is a name for the beautiful flowers which grow in many parts of the world, but most importantly in Kashmir or Kashyapa Nagari or Kashyapa state, Rajya. Kashyapa Maharishi, of course, being one of the great rishis, apart from Atri Maharishi, Vasishta Maharishi, Vishwamitra Maharishi, Gautama Maharishi, Bharadwaja Maharishi, and Jamadagni Maharishi, constituting the Sapta Rishis. And of course, there have been many others like Kutsu, Angira, and you have, of course, Agastya. How can you forget, being from South India? I have to mention that as well. So let me not go way beyond what I'm trying to do over here, because we have 21 days, 21, at least 21 episodes, and we'll slowly unravel ourselves and see the beauty of it. And where better to do it than in a culture which has preserved Sanatana Dharma in its most pristine form, in spite of various other influences, harsh and soft, coming across and trying to use the carrot or stick policy in order to bribe or scare away from this deeper understanding of who we are and the practice of it in daily life. Now we are trying to get back to our roots, because without the roots, nothing else on top can actually survive. So, welcome to my orange work. Namaste. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.